you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
S-I-C-K,
S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. CF Montreal Talk.
Here's the chance. They've got the goal. Absolutely incredible. Cameron Porter delivers the goal to send Montreal Impact into the CONCACAF Champions League semi-final.
The sickest CF Montreal podcast. Brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. Driven to be different. La Tibi. Embrace your true nature. Enough Sport.
Collaborer avec Sport, une compagnie d'ici afin de dynamiser l'apprentissage et la pratique du sport pour tous et partout.
Les différents produits permettent de rester actif tout en développant sa confiance, son autonomie et sa technique. Des produits efficaces, progressifs et personnalisés avec le logo de votre école.
Sport, pour tous et partout.
And Playground, your premier gaming destination. It's gonna be sick.
Good afternoon on this Wednesday, October 16. We usually don't podcast, CF Montreal podcasts on Wednesdays, but I figured, you know what? This is it. On Saturday, it's MLS Decision Day in Major League Soccer. One game left for all the teams, with most of the games starting at 6 p.m. Eastern or a little bit later on the West Coast at 9 o'clock, which coincides with pretty much the same time, right? So everyone's playing at the same time, and we'll see what happens. And we know we're going to pay attention to CF Montreal to see if they're going to solidify a play-in spot. Right now, they're in the 9th play-in spot. They're going to want to solidify not only a play-in spot, but the 8th play-in spot, because if they do, well, they're going to end up playing that game on Tuesday, October 22nd at Stade Saputo if they solidify the 8th spot. If they solidify the 9th spot, well, at that point, they're going to play on the road. The winner of that game will play a 2 out of 3 versus Lionel Messi and Inter Miami, with game 1 going on Friday, October 25th. Without further ado, let me bring in my guest today, former member of the Montreal Impact, your favorite number 8, Patrice Bernier. How you doing, bud?
Hey, how's it going, Tony?
Very good, Pat. Thank you very much for taking the time. Once again, we're 3 days away from MLS Decision Day. By the way, once again, we want to remember the 1994 team that won the championship, the first ever championship in Montreal Impact history. It was the 30-year anniversary yesterday. And Pat, as someone who was about 20, 21 years old when it happened, I could remember that day like it was yesterday. I took it in as a fan at Centre Claude Robillard, and I don't know how I was able to get down to a field level, but it almost seems like everyone did. And when the game was over and the final whistle was blown, I remember hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of fans storming the field, Pat. Man, good times. Very good times.
Yeah, in terms of Montreal, it's probably a very big moment, especially soccer-wise. Nobody, I think, expected at that time that, you know, the Montreal Impact, CF Montreal, was going to win a title early on. But I wasn't at the game, but I remember the highlights of Gene Harbour's goal. And then, like you said, people rushing the field because, you know, everybody likes a winner. But it was definitely a great moment. And I'm pretty sure for those guys and anybody who lived it, you know, it's 30 years on, but you won a title. And those things don't go away. And I think in La Presse, there was a story where, you know, the players said what happened the night before and stuff like that. So it shows it was one of the great moments and solidified the Impact as one of the big clubs in the league at the time. And definitely great players who played at that time, local players and also some foreign players who came in, definitely set up saying, you know what, I could play Montreal and I can win. And that was a great moment for guys like Nick DeSantis, Patrick Diot, Rudy Doliska, Mauro Biello. I don't remember if Nevio was there also, but he probably was only like 18 if at the time. So great moments for all those guys, and even the other guys, Lord Barkers, the Gene Arbors, the guys who came from abroad, from else outside of Montreal and
Yeah.
became Montreal legends, Montreal Impact.
But I'm curious though, Pat. I'm curious.
Yes.
There were about 9,000 people there that day. Where was 15-year-old Patrice Bernier on that day?
I was at a hockey game.
You were at a hockey game.
Yeah. It was me. The game is, if I'm correct, it's in October. By that time, I'm starting to play hockey, and soccer is second rate. So I remember just coming home and watching the highlights on RDS, showing the goal and the frantic, people just watching Valerio just going down on the field, and oh my God, I can't believe it. So, but like I said, these are great moments. As a kid, as a guy who played for the club, the history of the club.
Yeah,
those are moments that are cherished, and definitely great to celebrate. And yes, we have a group with all those guys. They all show the pictures, and they all still talk to each other. But it's great because, like I said, I was a kid, and that's still a moment for me in the soccer ecosystem at Montreal or Quebec.
What a goal that Gene Harbour scored. He kicked it with it
was a Roberto Carlos goal.
He kicked it from the outside of his foot, right? So that he made a curve. He found an opening in the wall there, made a curve around the wall, and the goalkeeper almost got his hands on it. But what a fantastic goal it was. It was wind aided too. I remember there was wind that day, but it was really a terrific goal to give Montreal Impact their first ever championship win versus the Colorado Foxes 1994 in what was the Impact second season, because they became an organization back in 1993 with Valerio Gazzola as coach of that 94 team, Pino Azzaro as general manager. And you talked about some players from abroad. Patrice Ferry, the great Patrice Ferry, was on that team. Enzo Concina was on that team. So talk about having a pretty good experienced back line. That was a pretty good experienced back line. And some members of that team will actually be honored on Saturday when CF Montreal will play their final game of the regular season. And so some of them will be here in Montreal, and they have been set up in a loge and a mezzanine. And I'm sure a lot of you look forward to seeing them. I wish I could have been there. But I have a family wedding to get to on the 19th of October. So like Patrice, I'll be watching when I get home later that day or early the next morning. Okay. MLS decision day. Mathieu Charon, who was a part of the 1642 Montreal group, put this up on Twitter. We're going to bring it up so it can give everyone a very good idea of what needs to happen. Okay. So we'll take a look at the scenarios. Okay, DC's in the 8th play-in spot, 40 points. Montreal's in 9th, 40 points. Of course, wins is the first tiebreaker. Differential is the second tiebreaker. Goals scored would be the third. DC has Charlotte at home. CF Montreal has New York City FC at home. Toronto's been eliminated. Philadelphia and Atlanta, well, they have a chance, but they have a lot less chance, of course, than Montreal. Philadelphia will be at home to Cincinnati, and Atlanta will be on the road versus Orlando. Atlanta doesn't have much of a chance here because Orlando, that's a big game for them, because Orlando's just ahead of New York City FC in the standings, and they'd like to get that spot in the standings. Or I'll bring up the standings in a second, okay? But as Mathieu Charon wrote, the 8th place scenario to play at home on Tuesday the 22nd would be a CF Montreal win coupled with a loss or a tie by DC United, or a CF Montreal tie coupled with a DC United loss. To get the 9th play-in spot would be a CF Montreal win and a DC win, or a CF Montreal draw and a draw by DC or a win by DC, or a CF Montreal loss and losses or ties by Philadelphia and Atlanta. All right. But let's put it this way. If CF Montreal loses and Philadelphia wins, CF Montreal's out. If CF Montreal loses and Philadelphia loses and Atlanta wins, CF Montreal is out. But, you know, they can still lose and still get in, but obviously they put themselves in a much better spot if they tie or win. If they tie, they're in. Doesn't matter what happens in the other games. If they tie, they're in. That's all we need to know. Pat, how's this one shaping up? How do you see it?
Oh, it's not going to be an easy one. The factor that they have all these possibilities makes it much better than last year. And the factor also that they're finishing the season in confidence, 4 wins in six games. Last year, if I remember, it's like 1 win in last 8 games. New York City FC is still playing for a 4th position with Orlando. So that means New York's not coming here knowing, we're in the playoffs and we're going to rest some guys or stuff like that. I look at it, it's not going to be easy. Hopefully they play really well and they're able to manage a draw, or why not win in the factor that they are. But New York is a good team, and they are a bit the dark horse of the CF Montreal in terms of history, because Montreal's only won 2 games versus them in 17 meetings. So I see that's going to be very difficult. But the factor is, you mentioned and you saw, Philly's playing Cincinnati at home. Philly does not have one of the better records this season at home, and Cincy is the 2nd best traveling team in the East this season. So that will be difficult for Philly. It's not impossible, difficult. And you mentioned it before, Orlando is playing for the 4th spot and is probably right now the hottest team in the East, if not the whole MLS, if you're not named Inter Miami. So Atlanta is not looking good. So I see as the possibilities that normally probability are high that the CF Montreal make it to the at least 9th spot and a play-in spot. The way I see it for next Saturday, promising. And, they could pull off a victory against New York City FC because of the way the team's doing. But I see that the probabilities are high for that team to finish at least 9th. Why not 8th and host a home game?
Yeah. The Sick Podcast, CF Montreal Talk, is brought to you in part by Energy Transportation Group, a leading full-service logistics provider serving all of North America, driven to be different. Pat, let's bring up the standings now.
Yes.
I like CF Montreal standings because I'm going to give situation possibilities because I'm going to give you a scenario here, okay? Here we have it. Orlando is in 4th, like you mentioned. New York City FC is in 5th. New York City FC would like to get that 4th spot, so they're going to bring all their regulars and they're going to start all their starters. But Orlando, who's in 4th, is going to be hosting Atlanta, who's 12th.
Yes.
If Orlando gets out to a 2-0 lead 20 minutes into the game, and they're going to be off to the races, New York City FC at that point might say, we're not catching Orlando. Take the best players off. I don't think they're going to do it at the 20-minute mark with a 2-0 lead, but I think you get my drift. Like by halftime, if Orlando's up 3-0 on Atlanta, New York City FC is going to say, we're not catching Orlando. No use in tiring out our players. Let's bring some of our best players to the bench. Let's make some substitutions. Am I missing something here? Or we're going to say
I wouldn't count on that because look at the standings. Charlotte wins, they move ahead of New York City FC. Red Bulls wins, they could move ahead of, if I'm correct now, in terms of wins, they wouldn't. So I wouldn't count on
the Charlotte's in play.
Yeah,
right.
Because the thing is,
Charlotte's
you can go up, but you can still move down. And I don't think anybody wants to play Columbus or Cincinnati. So the factor is New York City really wants that 4th spot. I don't see them resting players, even if they hear the score is different somewhere else, because we all know this is MLS. The game could change easily in the 75th minute towards the 90th minute. But no, I don't see New York City just saying, okay, Orlando's leading. Why not? Because they're still, you could still drop a position. They're not consolidated in terms of that 5th position right now.
Charlotte's not going to have it easy, mind you. At home, on the road, playing at DC. because DC obviously is going to be playing for their lives there this game. It's going to be something. We'll continue to take a look at some of the scenarios. The Sick Podcast CF Montreal Talk is brought to you by Bittt Tibi. They launched their new Ultra Lager, refreshing, thirst-quenching beer, perfect for the cool fall days. Only 90 calories, 2 grams of carbs, 4% ABV per can, available in a pack of 6 and 12 in grocery stores around the province of Quebec. It's ultra light and ultra refreshing. Pat, CF Montreal had a couple of players with the Canadiens men's national team. Yesterday, they had Saliba and they had Waterman there. All right. So obviously, they weren't at practice today practicing. But if you took a look at the way practice was going, you had Corbo at center back with Campbell and Alvarez. And that could very well be Waterman. Right in front of the back line, you had Samuel Piette with Yankov. Now, it should be noted that Saliba will be missing this final game because of yellows. And Marshall Ruddy at right wing back, and Raheem Edwards at left wing back, and Duke and Clark in behind Joseph Martinez. So the big questions are, is Waterman going to slot into center back? You would have to think yes, right?
I'll assume that because he did it, he's considered assistant captain. Even though when he came back last time from injury, they slotted him back into his spot. So I see him starting the game on Saturday as a center back, unless they pop up that they play him in his midfield next to Samuel Piette. I don't think they'll do it from the get-go because you only did it at the end of the game. The interesting things is what was mentioned that is Yankov is in the midfield with Samuel Piette, which is interesting because usually I think Duke slots in there and Yankov plays his normal position, which is higher up, because we all know, like you mentioned, Nathan Saliba is suspended, so cannot play. That's a bit question mark, or who's playing next to Piette. Are they really putting Yankov at that position, or are they just trying to see? It's interesting because if Yankov is really in training, because I didn't go to training next to Piette, does that mean Waterman steps in there? So that's interesting to see what's the matchup they're going to put in the midfield to go and get that victory and put themselves in. Because, Duke, Clark, and Martinez have done quite fairly well together.
Yeah.
The trio. And
that's why he's not going to change them, right? So once again, these are the scenarios. Either Corbo does stay at center back with Campbell to his right and Alvarez to his left, or Waterman replaces Corbo at center back with Campbell to his right and Alvarez to his left. There's a slight possibility that Waterman replaces Corbo at center back, Campbell on his right, and Corbo on the left. There's that possibility. There's the possibility that Piette's partner at CDM is Yankov. Like there's the possibility that Piette's partner is Waterman and Corbo stays at center back. So there's different possibilities for this team, Pat. But look, there's been a few hiccups along the way, but at one point, this team had won 4 games and tied 1 in a span of 5. They're clearly in a good moment going into this final game.
Yeah, we've mentioned before, the 4 wins in last 6 games. A month ago, we were all like, they're not going to make the playoffs the way they're playing, their body language, their enthusiasm. And then, I can't say suddenly, but things shifted, more stability. Martinez starts scoring goals. The attack starts producing. Caden Clark is another vibrant energy up front. And they score goals and the defense takes less. And they're coming into this game knowing, look, we know we can beat teams. We are not the same team as a month ago or several weeks ago. We know each other much better. We are a lot stronger defensively because now we know the offense produces. The offense can score, will score. So it takes away some of the pressure off the defense and even Jonathan Serrois, because before the last 6 games, it was an average of 2 goals. I think it's 2.14 goals a game scored against and like 1 goal scored for. And now it's the total opposite. It's almost like 2 goals scored for and less than a goal taken in the last 6 games. So it shows to say that when you come into this league, if you manage and you're in confidence, you could pull off things, and they're doing it at the right time and coming out the decision day knowing fully well that they can get a result at home and why not finish 8th, which would be great for the club and great for everybody because there would be a playoff or play-in game here in Montreal, which we haven't seen since 2022, and not that often since before 2022 before that. So,
Pat, think about what the prospect of what can happen here. That Montreal gets into the play-in, wins the play-in, and plays a 2 out of 3 versus Lionel Messi and Inter Miami. I mean, this would be the pinnacle this season. This would be it would be the icing on the cake, really. It's been a season of ups and downs, a little bit of a roller coaster. But if they can have a date with or a couple of dates with Messi, that would be amazing. I've said this before. If they get into the play-in, I will watch the game on the 22nd, and the second the game is over.
On a flight to Miami?
If they win, I'm going to check out all the carriers, all the airline carriers, to see if there's a direct flight there. And of course, if it's at a good deal. I hope I'm not tipping anyone off, and the second the game is over, that they're all going to boost their prices. I hope that's not going to happen. But if I get it at a good deal, which is the deal that it is right now, which is a good deal, boom, I'm booking, and I'm going to watch that game on the 25th. And you know what? I'll podcast from there. Radio, television, podcast, whatever. I'll do whatever I have to do. I want to watch that game.
Definitely good weather compared to right now. It's right over here.
I definitely want to watch that game. All right, we're going to get to, speaking of good, Team Canada. That's a real good result last night. And the Team Canada roster brought to you by Playground. Discover a world of luxury at Playground. Explore the 30,000 square foot expansion with thrilling games, gourmet dining, live entertainment located just over the Mercier Bridge. Only minutes for downtown Montreal Playground. Playground experience the strip without the trip. Yesterday, the Canadiens men's national team played Panama in a friendly that, however friendly it was, had consequences in the CONCACAF standings and what could be a possible schedule going forward in the Nations League. So with a win, they end up securing the second spot. Let's take a look at their lineup. All right. Crepeau, Laria, Bombito, Cornelius, Davies, captain, Chouanière, look at that, Eustachio, Ahmed, Schaffelberg, Jonathan David, and Kyle Larin up top. Your subs out of Kubi, Theo Baer, Basong, isn't that something? Pretty surprised to see him there. Good for him. Knight LaBelle, Miller, Oluwe Sewi. I always have a hard time saying that name, even though he's one of the best strikers in MLS. Osorio, Kwasi Poku with his debut with the Canadiens men's national team after going from Forge FC to a team in Belgium's second division. Nathan Saliba, Sigur St. Clair, and Waterman. There you have it. Pat, a 2-1 win after Larin puts them up at 1. Panama ties it at 1. And at the 87th minute, Jonathan David starts it, and then he finishes. Your thought on the quality of play and the type of soccer they tried to play?
Look, most people will have to understand that they're not going to be playing like they play with John Herdman. It's not the same coach, not the same reality. And also the pitch didn't look that great. So maybe it's this time of the year.
It looked terrible. They got beat up. The Argonauts played a game 3 or 4 weeks ago, and it got beat up, and the field has never recovered. We saw it versus Messi, right? Toronto's last game of the regular season.
The field is not in great condition, so even that is not made for the best of football. Now the thing is, they're very competitive. They're dynamic. They go forward. They press. They're a handful if you play against them. And they managed to create some chances. Because even before Larin scored, I think, if I'm correct, Jonathan David had a great look at goal, just missed his shot, completely shot direct. And you said it. It was these games are friendlies, but it's a CONCACAF team, and it's a direct rival, meaning Panama is a team that can say, we are as good as Canada or US or Mexico. So, and you said it, Canada was second in CONCACAF rankings, and they needed to solidify that position because USA was playing Mexico also. But the game, no, not the prettiest, but they are playing the way they want. I got the chance to see training sessions when they were here in Montreal. It's intense, it's dynamic, lots of quick combinations, verticality. They don't try to dwell too much on the ball. and try to use what's their quality, which is this team has pace, power, speed, and athleticism in the midfield and even at the back. Moise Bombito and Derek Cornelius, doesn't look like many things are going to go by them in terms at least of CONCACAF. So not the greatest game, but at the end of the day, you have to grind it out, and they're able to get those results. And Larin and Jonathan David scored both in a game that was somewhat tight, and with a game winner by Jonathan David, who's doing really well. He's always done well, but this beginning of season, he's really flying in terms of Lille and with the national team.
He keeps getting better and better all the time, Jonathan David, and what a beautiful goal that was. I mean, I got to tell you, this morning, I think it was 7:30 in the morning, my cell phone rings. My son from Spain says to me, I just watched the highlights. I just saw Jonathan David's goal. And I said, yes. And he says, did you see the goal that he scored? And I said, yeah, I saw the goal that he scored. He says, he starts the play. He gives the ball. He runs to the area. He puts himself in a position to get the pass. The way he opens up his foot and he redirects it, he has frozen the goalkeeper completely. He goes, what an amazing goal scorer's goal. And I said, that's an amazing goal scorer's goal. And I said, that's one of the best goal scorers in the world. And think about that. Canada has, the men's national team has, one of the greatest goal scorers, pure nines, in the world. He's not everyone's cup of tea for whatever reason. Some are going to be listening to this and say, you know what? I know so many strikers that are better than him, blah, 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 blah. Statistically, he's one of the best strikers in the world. He's up there in the top 3 in scoring in the last, ever since his second full season pro.
Yeah, no, look, goal scorers are goal scorers. It's not about prettiness. It's not about, there's only one guy that mesmerized defenses because he was a full-out package, which his name was not Cristiano Ronaldo, but Ronaldo, the Brazilian. He's the only one who could score his own goals anyway. How after that, strikers are striker. People talk about Erling Haaland. He's a finisher. Don't ask me about him making goals. So Jonathan David has been in the top list of scorers in League One. Even as you mentioned, in Belgium, he finished in the top scorers. But in League One, now because maybe he is Canadian, he's not a high profile. Yes, in the world of football, they know who he is. But I mean, he's not talked about like other players who score goals in their leagues and then are pushed forward compared to others. But
if he would have been 6'3", he would have been a lot more talked about. The fact that he's 5'9", it scares away some teams. I don't know why.
But I think it's just because at the end of the day, I will say it's because he's Canadian. Because Kun Aguero was not 5'5", was not 5'9", 5'10", 5'11", 6 foot. It's just you're not a profile. You're not one of those glaring personalities. And also, Jonathan is not somebody who does a lot of interviews and stuff like that. So you're not a profile player that people put forward. They know in France, when they talk Lille, it's Jonathan David. But they're not going to talk to him about, Jonathan David, un des meilleurs joueurs de la Ligue 1. Even though internally, it's a bit like Nacho Piatti when he was here. People in the league know he's one of the better players, but they're not going to put him as in a pedestal as other players who are in the league playing maybe at Paris Saint-Germain, Olympique Marseille, or Monaco. He's at Lille. But you mentioned it. His name keeps popping up here, being in Premier League, La Liga, Serie A, and he's Canadian. And he was not part of an academy. He made his way through Europe, and we have him here, and it's a blessing. And he's probably right now the best player in CONCACAF. When you talk about, I know Alfonso is who he is, but I mean in terms of form, he's probably the best player in CONCACAF right now, and he's playing in your country. I still believe that sometimes, because in Lille, he plays more of the finisher role because he has other people who brings him the pieces. And in Canada, he kind of has to come in and be a bit more of a pivot, which is good because he's able to do it.
Yeah.
This is Jonathan David. He's, for me, the minute we've heard about him score goals, it's just because, like I said, he's not a profile. He's somebody who puts himself out there, but he's definitely part of the elite, and he's Canadian.
Pat, let's bring up the next game if we can here. All right, here we have it. November 19th. Write it down in your calendars. Folks, tickets will go on sale on the 21st of October, so they go on sale on Monday. For November 19th, the game will take place at 7:30 p.m. Canada versus Suriname. And, Pat, there's so many storylines about this Canadian team that we could talk about. But I want to end it if we can. I think the biggest one, I think it's Moise Bombito. I was on the phone with a couple of friends today. We're talking about his ascension and his progression. At 17 years old, playing as a forward for Saint Laurent, on their team, but on the bench. At 18 with St. Hubert, PLSQ, wants to go the U.S. route, has to go to junior college first, 1 year there, onto the NCAA the next season. At the end of that season, he goes into the MLS draft. He gets drafted third to Colorado. He has a great season, and he's so much in demand that he gets sold to Nice for millions of dollars. After a couple of weeks that he's there, he's on basically the starting 11 all-world team. We're not talking about France's Ligue 1. We're talking about all the competitive leagues all around the world. He was at the starting center back position. He's already made quite the reputation of himself of a quick learner, a very coachable player, a fast rising potential superstar, one of the fastest players at the world, any position. I thought he was amazing last night. I thought he was amazing.
Look, you said it's a beautiful ascension. He's a player. I know we mentioned, how come we didn't know about Moise Bombito before? It's the proof that, even at 14, 15, 16, even if you're part of the elite in your own backyard, that doesn't mean you're going to make it. You said it. What I like and what I've been hearing about him is coachable, adaptable. He got changed position later on in terms of his teenage years. Played defensive mid, if I'm correct, at a certain point also, and not just center back, and made his way, went to Colorado, ended up doing really well. And in a way, in certain things, they always say timing. Canada had no defenseman in terms of high-level defenseman, and we're looking for one. I know when he was brought in, if you remember his first cap, they played him as a center mid. And you're thinking the position he should suit in is at the back. With all the tools he has, he's decent with his feet, but he's got pace, he's got size, and the name of the game, look at the best defenders in the league, in the world. They have size. Virgil van Dijk, Sergio Ramos, all of them. You were talking about Piqué, all of them. And
there was a great opportunity. The timing was right, too, with Steven Vittoria getting older.
Yeah, right. Slotted in the position. The possibility was there because, if somebody was a mainstay right now, they probably wouldn't give him as much. You would have to take a little bit more time to take that spot. So sometimes it's all about timing, but it's using that opportunity and showing yourself. And he did really well with Colorado. He did really well at Copa America. And now, like you said, it's great because he's playing in League One. He's not, okay, of course, he got purchased, transferred, so they're going to play him. But he's performing. He's adapting quick where everybody says it's a very difficult league. There's power forwards there, guys who can make you look bad, and he's doing well. And the game against Panama, which I think suited well because Panama's a power team, a lot of forwards that are in his scope, but he didn't let anything, not a sniff, go through. And it shows the rise. And let's not forget, he's not at the peak of where a defender age-wise can be. So I'm just looking at where the level he can attain and maybe make a move from this to a bigger club in the next few years. I'm not saying it's going to happen in a year, but who knows? It goes very fast in football. So beautiful story, and a beautiful story for kids who are looking out there and saying, you know what? I'm not in an academy. I don't know where I'm at right now. And that doesn't mean that I can't reach my dream. Still got to work, but it doesn't mean that you cannot reach your dream.
You hit the nail on the head. Imagine how many kids are going to be watching this podcast, listening to this podcast, or already know the story and don't need the podcast to tell them that at 17 years old, we're on the bench playing amateur soccer, and they said, well, that's it. If I can't be a starter on my team, and they called it quits in the past. And imagine how many kids are in that situation now or will be going forward and are going to say, you know what? Do I keep playing soccer or do I stop playing soccer? I'm on the bench at 17 because you've heard this so many times before whether it's players, coaches, anyone involved in the game, even parents, to say, where's that kid going? He's not going anywhere. He's 17 years old. He's 18 years old. He's on the bench. Well, this kid here was 17 years old and he was on the bench. And at age 24, he was sold for millions to Nice. And his coach says that he is going to be among the best at his position in the entire world. And he was already on the team of the week for World Soccer a couple of weeks ago. That kid too. And I hope that I don't hear, well, it happens to him, but how many kids does it happen to? It's probably going to happen it's not going to happen for the next 1,000 years. Like, 'cause you hear that, right? Once you start giving the example of, no, he was on the bench. Look at him. Yeah, but okay, that happens every 1,000 years. No, it happens every day, everywhere in the world, that maybe a coach doesn't look at you the same way as someone else would. It takes one person to believe in you. It takes one. Whether it's a coach, whether it's a sporting director, whether it's a technical director, it takes one. But they're not going to believe in you if you don't believe in yourself. Pat?
I want to add also, if there's kids there, coaches listening, he did accept to change position. Because sometimes you believe, I'm a striker. This is my position. And sometimes a coach goes, maybe if you try out, you got a tool set that maybe goes out, because they forget Patrice Bernier was a forward, ended up being one of the better left backs. There's a lot of players out there who made their career and that wasn't their number one position. They were moved and ended up having a great career, which is the word career. And I want to salute Zarek Valentin, just retired.
Yes.
Or announced his retirement. Salute to you, Zarek, as he had played for the Montreal Impact, CF Montreal in 2012. But it's just to say, you want to have career, sometimes you listen, try it out. The coach says, try it out. And look, Moise Bombito, Ismael Kone was a left winger, and he ends up being a center midfielder now. So it says that your tool set may be great, and it could help you out in another position. Don't close the door when somebody tries you out somewhere else.
And when I saw him on the wing, I thought he was such an amazing winger, by the way. And I said, if he ever makes it, he'll make it as a winger. And he ended up making it as a box-to-box. Tony Marinaro changed positions. He used to be a number 9, and then he changed position to go into radio or television or podcasting. Very, very smart move, Tony Marinaro, because you never would have made it as a soccer player, and you knew that. Pat, can you give me a prediction for CF Montreal's game on Saturday versus New York City FC? When all is said and done, are they going to be in a playing spot?
Yeah, I believe they'll be in a playoff spot. I'm going to say I think it's going to be a draw. The game is going to be a draw. But I don't know if they'll be in 8th spot to host the game, but definitely CF Montreal, I think the way they're going, they'll manage to get the result. It just seems, it's funny. Last year, 2023, it's almost the same situation. You got to win the game, and then they lose, and then in the dying minutes, they didn't make the playoffs. But now you're in a much better position in terms of the spirit of the team.
Yeah.
So I think they'll be able to pull out a result that's Saputo. Don't forget, the game is at 6 p.m. Most people
6 p.m.
7:30, but it's 6 p.m.
That's right. And this is a dream for Don Garber, right? MLS decision day.
This
with
is
everyone's eyes watching. You know what? Everyone playing at the same time. Let's see who gets in and let's see who doesn't get in. It's going to be interesting. We'll be watching. Of course, we'll bring you a podcast next week to talk about it. And we're all pulling for CF Montreal because we want to see them play that play-in. We want to see them win that play-in. So like that, they have a date with Lionel Messi and Inter Miami. Thank you very much, Patrice Bernier. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Tony. Thanks, everybody.
Merci, Patrice. There you have it. Follow us on Twitter at SickPodCFMTL. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you haven't already, it's absolutely free. Have a great day, everyone.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast, CF Montreal Talk on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.